Good evening and welcome to the coffee table. Today is the 30th of December, it's a Sunday, and we're just coming to the end of the year. So I thought that the best thing that we could possibly do, and we had a discussion, Dr. Nadeem and myself, and he said, let's look at 2018 and let's see what's been happening in this 1 year. So Doc, I'm going to hand it over to you. Good year, bad year?
I think kind of a lackluster year.
Lackluster year.
I think the most interesting thing that happened in 2018 really is I probably call it the year of Trump or something.
The year of
Trump has been making headlines.
So Trump has trumped everybody.
Trump has trumped everybody. I think May has been a close second. May has been trying to get her lame Brexit going.
Yeah.
She's still trying.
Yeah.
And I think, to my mind, it seems it's still not clear. She may just lose.
So no Putin, no Chinese?
Putin has been quiet.
Putin has been
Chinese have been quiet. But Trump has really been the big
so
daddy.
He's been waving his golden mop at everybody.
He's been waving lots of things at people. He's got his Canada-Mexico deal, the new NAFTA.
Yeah.
He's been trying to push forward his deal with the Chinese. He's trying to get somewhere. He's got his deal with Europe. He's used muscular trade policy to get something. I don't think he's got a lot.
He's not stupid, is he?
No, he's not stupid at all. No,
so
he's not. And now
all that kind of
bluster.
Let's say bluster around. He's blustering. A lot of people commenting, saying, well, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's a madman. He doesn't seem to be mad. He seems to be doing what he wants to do, and he seems to be getting it also.
His agenda is very clear. He's got a constituency, and I must say, unlike our rulers, he's very true to his constituency.
Right.
You have to give him that. He is very true to his constituency. He promised them a wall. He's going for it, even if it means closing the US government for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I believe so.
He's doing that.
Explain that to us. Well, how do you close down a government? What does it mean? Does that mean nothing is happening? Does that mean nobody's doing anything? Does that mean everybody's gone home? What does it mean? Closure of the US government, a partial closure of the US government.
It's something we can't even think of, but it happens. Why? I think it's something that's very important for Pakistanis to understand.
Yeah.
It is because the budget is truly in the hands of the Congress.
Okay.
Right? The American president cannot spend anything without the congressional approval.
That's pretty amazing.
Right?
Huh?
And in Pakistan, for example, the prime minister or the executive can spend whatever they like. At the end of the year, they tell the parliament that this is the bill, and the parliament is forced to pay it. Right? In fact, the bill is paid all the time. In the American government, every budgetary exercise has to be approved by
Congress. So you cannot. So that's what it means. If Congress doesn't give you the money, you can't do anything.
Congress doesn't give you the money, you can't pay your salaries. So right now, most of the government is not being paid. People have been told you have to take a company. It's like Faisal, they tell you they can't pay your salary. You go home, you have to go home, period. And you take a forced furlough, but no salary, right?
Oh God.
This is what's happening to people.
It's like our media.
What they've done is they're keeping the essential services going, like police, firefighters, etc. They're keeping those going.
Okay.
But other workers have been told to go home.
Amazing.
And Congress, unless the Congress authorizes the new spending bill, they can't go forward, right? So, yes, the government is closed down.
Okay.
He's done that. He's staying true to his constituency. He's going to get everything done. So yes, it is the very important thing Trump has done. But at the same time, yes, the Democrats have been chasing Trump with Mueller, as you know.
Yeah,
and Mueller has been, again, we discussed this yesterday, research.
Yeah.
For 2 years, think about it, this is fascinating. For 2 years now, Mueller has been researching every little bit of Trump.
Yeah.
His followers, his associates, his money trail, everything under the sun. And he's bit by bit getting closer to Trump.
And he gets all the information. He has access to all that information.
All the information, and he's researching.
Nothing can be denied.
But note, the thing that he's doing is very important. He's researching. He's not actually doing anything. He's researching. He's finding things, investigating. And he is getting closer and closer to Trump, but he hasn't got it. So I think that's the key thing. But I think more importantly, Brexit is very important.
Yeah.
What if Brexit happens?
Okay. So let's look at Brexit, right? So Britain was part of the European Union, and then they decided that it might not be the best thing for them. So they decided to have a referendum, right? And the referendum was held. And the results of that referendum were that we need to leave the European Union. So that is what Britain exiting from the European Union, and it's called Brexit. But a lot of people now think and say that that referendum was probably not conducted in the right way, or people were not really aware of what it meant. Right? They just went and voted. Middle England voted for exiting. Right? Places like London and Birmingham and all didn't vote for exiting. So there is a kind of a hiatus also. I read a tweet yesterday from Sadiq Khan. Right? And he said, Brexit or not, London is still an open city. Right? Now, he's the mayor of London. So he sits as the Lord Mayor of a city which is very diverse, right? Which is a melting pot. People from all over the world, at least all over Europe are there, right? And that's what makes London what it is. So how does it work? You know, what's going to happen?
But think about it. It's fascinating. A referendum was held. A vote came in.
Yeah.
The Prime Minister resigned the very next day.
Yes, because he couldn't, because he was...
because on the wrong side of the referendum.
On the wrong side of the referendum.
Right? So he took responsibility.
Yes, that's true.
Something, Faisal, we've never seen in this country.
Yeah, we don't see that.
There's never a resignation in this country.
No.
They get their seat and they want to hang on to it. Hey, I'm not going to leave, no matter what. Take me off if you like, but I'm never going to leave, right? Takes the court or the army to throw them out. Damn it, if you lose a big...
a significant vote, you should be going home because you've lost the mandate.
Right? Simple.
Yeah.
Okay. The second thing which is very important is May comes in and May says we have to respect the mandate we were given, which is a referendum, and we have to do it.
Yeah.
Right? And they've been doing the referendum.
Though even half a cabinet resigned and left.
Right. And they're trying to do it.
Yeah.
Now, again, they have gone through, I mean, think about the debate which they've had in Parliament, which all of us have watched on television. Right?
Yeah.
They've been to the court, etc. It's a very well-informed debate.
Yes, it is.
Right?
So
different sides.
That's the other aspect.
But it's a very well-informed debate.
So a prime minister who does not get the right answer from his constituents or from the populace decides to resign the next day because he takes responsibility.
Very important lesson for us.
Yeah.
Just like we saw the lesson in Trump, that hey, he can't sign a check.
Yes.
Check has to be signed with a congressional approval.
Without that,
if he can't sign a check, he can't run the company.
So we keep saying democracy, but we do not look at all these
critical things.
Yeah.
Now May is trying to get it done. Cabinet is resigning. This is happening. That is happening. She's trying to get a deal. She can't get a deal.
Yeah.
It is going to come back to vote sometime mid-January.
Right.
If she fails, she's already faced a vote of confidence.
Yeah.
She won that marginally. If she fails in the next vote,
so
she probably goes.
Yeah.
She will probably be forced to resign. If she goes, then there may be grounds for another referendum.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's another problem. If the referendum goes through, let's say, the Brexit goes through, if the Brexit goes through, the position of Northern Ireland is very unclear.
Right.
The position of Scotland is very unclear. So what you and I used to for the last 300-400 years, what we've seen, Great Britain may no longer be so great. United Kingdom may not be United Kingdom. It may be
England, Scotland, Wales.
So I mean, it's a very strange situation.
Yeah, it is.
At the same time, what is worrisome in both the Trump scenario and the Brexit scenario is that we see the rebirth of racism. We thought racism was dead. But now, quite frankly...
That's the comeback of populist leaders, isn't it? Populism normally does result in polarization.
Very scary.
Yeah, it is scary.
Yeah.
So where do we see the world going from here? We've got that. We've got the French, right? We've had the Yellow Vest protests, that took to the streets.
Merkel is under threat now.
Yeah. Angela Merkel is also.
And you've seen Austria, etc.
Again, it's a right-wing swing.
Austria, etc. go rightward, right? I mean, India's gone rightward.
Yeah.
Has
Pakistan gone right also, of center? Is that a legitimate, let's say, view? Or is that just something that's coming out of the noise levels? Because people who are part of the whole system and are not any longer part of the system want to paint it as that.
I think it's wishful thinking on your part.
Is wishful thinking on my part?
Because what you're thinking, what you're trying to say, put a spin on it is that you're thinking.
Yeah.
We're not thinking.
We're not thinking.
We don't have any ideology. We don't think.
We don't have any ideology.
So
there is no center, there is no right, there's no left.
But at the same time, hang on. We may see, if Imran fails, we may see a further rightward shift.
Right.
I mean, it could be possible. So I don't see the left anywhere in Pakistan. Right. You can only go rightward. So we will go rightward. But the world is going rightward, which is very, very scary.
Yeah.
The world is going rightward, and more importantly, what that rightward shift means is we are ignoring 2 or 3 things. We are going to be, globalization is no longer going to speed along as it did.
Right.
They are putting in barriers everywhere, right?
So protectionist barriers.
Not only protectionist. I mean, these money laundering barriers are also a kind of barriers to money, to globalization. The other thing that's also very interesting.
Okay, you're an economist, right? So you're the right person to ask this question. So the money laundering issue, right? How difficult is it, right, to be able to track money?
Well, it is always difficult to track money.
Right.
Right? I mean, take this now, with cryptocurrencies in, with Bitcoin in, I can transfer money anonymously anywhere.
Right.
Right? All I have to do is trade in Bitcoins and I can transfer money anywhere, so it doesn't matter. But yes, there are still ways of tracking money, but we can also go too far in tracking money, like we have gone in Pakistan. I mean, I remember a time when I went abroad to study. I had to take 6 months to go to the state bank.
To get some dollars assigned.
Not just dollars, I had to get permission to travel. The P form, the famous
I remember
P form.
that. I remember that.
I remember I wanted at one point when I was a kid, I wanted a comic book subscription for $1. And I couldn't get that because the state bank would even allow me to get a comic book subscription for $1.
And this is what years is?
This is, I'm talking about 1960s.
1960s.
So my point
early
is,
60s.
Yeah, my point is that, damn it, if we can know this went on all the way till the 80s.
Right.
If we want to go back to that regime, I don't like it. I think we need some freedom.
Sure.
I agree, money launderer. Look, security is always the problem.
Yeah.
You and I could go out just now and be run over by a car.
Sure.
Security, human life is always insecure.
But let's say terror networks, you need money to operate and run these networks. You need money for any single incidence of terror. People have to be taken care of. Travel is involved in all kinds of things. How far, right, do we need to go in saying, okay, we need to track the money and all that. We need to see the movement of money, but not to allow movement of money. Right?
That's the problem.
Yeah, that's
the movement of money helps us all because it keeps the wheels of the economy going. After all, the movement of money is what drives the economy, and if you slow it down so much that it doesn't perform its function of increasing the economy, then we have a problem. So yeah, money laundering can go too far too, and all these agreements of over-regulation, those are worrisome. But it hasn't got to that stage yet, but it could.
So the world, instead of getting more connected, is getting less connected, right? So there are barriers coming up, even geography, even in terms of borders. I remember 1975, I traveled from Lahore all the way to Germany with my father, and we drove, right? And we must have passed through about 20 countries, and it was so easy. Yeah, you could get a visa on arrival at most borders. There's just 2 or 3. In fact, even at that time, Iran was one of those places that you needed to have a visa, right, before you even left. I think Afghanistan was again one of those places. But most of the European countries, you could just arrive at the border and you would be passed through. You'd get a stamp on your passport and you exited at the other end. The world is not as connected as it was. It's not that easy to travel around. So where are we headed?
Well, look, the key thing now is that the other thing that's also important to note in 2018, we have seen the economy peaking. US stock market kind of peaked.
So global economy
somewhere in the middle, and most economies yielded very good returns over the last 8-9 years. Now there's a flattening out.
Okay.
Interest rates have gone up in the US, and we are seeing the bit of
interest rates go up normally when you want to slow down.
When you want to slow down the
economy,
you want to slow down. So there's a kind of a, I'm not saying the recession is in, but there's kind of a slowdown there. The projections from the IMF, etc., suggest that the global slowdown may be occurring.
Okay.
Right? But at the same time, inflation doesn't seem to be picking up. So inflation is not a major issue.
Okay.
But the slowdown may happen, and if the slowdown happens, then of course we'll be affected.
Right.
But the second thing is, with interest rates going up, yes, of course, our position becomes less attractive. Whenever interest rates go up in the West, money stops flowing towards us. In fact, money goes in the other direction. So, I mean, those things are beginning to happen. But again, we are lucky. Oil price has come down.
Yeah.
And looks like it will stay down for a while.
And the energy mix, do you think that's also changing? Globally?
No, I mean, the point is when the oil price goes down, everything works with it.
Right.
I mean, the LNG or LPG, etc., linked to the oil price, right? So oil price is coming down, and oil price has come down from roughly about, I think, north of 60 to about 40 something now,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
That almost means, I think each $10 represents about roughly, I think about $2 to $3 billion to Pakistan.
Okay. In terms of the
advantage that we have, right? So the oil prices help Pakistan,
right,
for sure. That's a blessing in disguise. Whereas the interest rate may not be, the global recession will not be. It'll help it'll hurt our exports further, because if the demand comes down, our exports will be hurt.
Sure.
So yes, of course, there is going to be a problem going forward. Yeah, 2019 may be a difficult year for the global economy.
Okay.
Right? It could be a year where we see growth coming down, and if growth comes down, yes, we'll have a bit of an issue. But 2019 also brings in the US election. US election is going to pick up speed, and the Democrats.
The primaries.
The primaries are going to start by
March or
no, by the end of next year.
By the end of
the primary will start, right?
Okay.
And when they start, then.
All right.
But right now, they're going to start announcing the candidates.
Okay, we take a short break and then we come back.
Yeah.
So please stay with us as we come back from the break. Okay, so back from the break, we were talking about what has been happening in 2018 and maybe looking into 2019 just a little bit in the context of what's been happening. Dr. Nadeem was giving us a perspective on the economy, on the slowdown, on the kind of the global slowdown in terms of growth, which normally heralds, let's say, a plateauing off, if not a recession. So that is going to have some kind of an impact. At the same time, on the flip side, we've got lowering of the oil prices, which means it has a positive impact for us in terms of our import bill. Doc, going back to what you were picking up.
Faisal, let me turn the question around. I was just thinking about it in the break.
Sure.
You're very fond of innovation.
Yes.
Entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
What's happened in that space in 2018?
2 or 3 things.
Was it a lackluster year or a good year?
Not really. No year is ever lackluster.
Okay.
There's always something or the other thing that is coming out. So we look at we're looking at larger impacts of technology and saying, okay, what kind of technology has been coming out? So AR, VR, right? Augmented reality and virtual reality, right? So some of movement has happened in that. And where does it manifest itself? So even training of surgeons, right? Training of surgeons, your AR is coming into medicine, coming into retail.
AR, VR, what is the difference between the two?
Virtual reality and augmented reality.
Yeah, what is the difference?
Virtual reality is a constructed reality in totality. It's not, none of it is actually around you.
It's like the holodeck.
It's like the holodeck.
Star Trek, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
And augmented reality is your environment, but a little augmentation, little addition to it.
Okay.
Right. So I could add, let's say, graphs over here, or I could add, some kind of data over here. That would be augmented reality. So a lot of things have been happening in that. It hasn't really gotten to where one was expecting it, but a lot of things.
Is it more than a toy yet?
It's more than a toy, for sure.
Really?
For sure.
So what is it that I can do?
Retail is having an impact. Medicine is having an impact. Learning, it's having an impact.
Okay.
So it can actually make a lot of difference.
So the one thing is AR, VR. What else would you?
So that's the blockchain, right? We've been hearing about it. Most people just think the blockchain is crypto, right? So now we're beginning to look a little more beyond crypto and saying, okay, as a technology,
but again,
it's nothing more.
Has the blockchain yielded anything yet?
We were expecting too much from it,
yeah.
right?
I mean, I thought it would do something, for example.
No,
look,
it is
take a look. We talk about blockchain and security.
Yeah.
But I can't even use an ATM machine today because I worry about my security.
Yes, you do. It should be like that. That's not really the right use of the technology. So technology by itself doesn't do anything. It's how you use it that makes the difference. So I recall, Barclays, I think almost about a year ago, started to move all its letters of credit onto the blockchain. And they've not had any problems with it. So blockchain is not just about cryptocurrency. Blockchain is about smart contracts. Blockchain is about land revenue records. It could be about voting. It could be any of those things. What it does is, in reality, it's a truth mechanism, right? It cannot be tampered. It cannot be altered. So it remains, it has a high degree of transparency. It has a high degree of integrity. That is the way to think of blockchain. And saying wherever I need these things, we should be implementing the blockchain in that. It's just in simplistic ways, in simplistic terms.
Okay.
Cloud computing grew this year as it did in the years before.
Isn't that matured now?
It
Cloud
has, and
computing
now
is
the interesting
mature,
thing is,
right?
there are discussions. I went to one of these seminars where they said the cloud is dead. It's now about the edge cloud. So it's not about the big, huge public cloud, but it's about a cloud which is nearer to where I am. So if I'm running an application, if I'm running anything, right? So it's a cloud nearer to me. So it may be very localized, right? Because the pace at which I need to get that information back and forth. Take the self-driving car. It is actually an edge cloud. So within the car itself, there's enough computing ability.
But self-driving car still is way out.
Yes.
I mean, it still has not happened. We've been hearing about it for the last 2 or 3 years.
It's nothing. 2-3 years for a new
Nothing
technology.
has happened yet.
2-3 years for a new
I mean,
technology.
all I've got is a little bit of some toys in my car.
No, not really.
You know, it'll break itself sometime.
No.
I mean, there's nothing there.
It's
yet,
much beyond that.
In fact, I shouldn't say that. In Pakistan, we have no.
Yeah, we don't.
We have nothing at all.
Because I
We
look
still
at all these things, right? So the technology of self-awareness, right? Let's look at the car. The self-driving car is a self-aware car. It's aware of its own environment, right? And it will take decision faster.
I'll tell you one thing that I think that has happened, which you missed out, which is very important.
Tell me.
Which could be very useful here,
Yeah.
given my throat.
Oh, yeah. So,
Which is that in many cities in the US now, they have this electric scooter,
yes.
which is lying around all over the place.
Yeah, so you can just get on
You
one
just
and
get on
go.
it, you just pay a little bit, get on it, you can go.
Sure.
So I can go wherever I like with an electric scooter. They had those bicycles, that was the fad a few years ago.
You're an economy, you know all these things. The auto industry is over $1 trillion industry. The auto industry was not ready for the kind of disruption that happened with Uber, where suddenly you realize that you didn't need to buy a car. Because if I'm not going to buy a car, right, so what is the auto manufacturer going to do? Right? If nobody's buying cars, if people decide not to buy cars. So they need to get into that. And they're finding
By the way,
their
they've
feet
already
now.
got into that.
Yeah, I know they have. So one of the reasons why you haven't seen such big leap forward in the self-driving, let's say, space is because they're calibrating the movement. And they're saying, okay, let's get ready, let's get there, let's be part of it, so we're not out of the game, right? But look at what is, so testing is going on roads, all these things. A new technology introduction is not easy. It takes a while, right? We tend to forget how new technologies really get introduced. So that is one space where a lot of things are happening. It's not just going to be self-driving cars. It's going to be self-driving pods also. So stuff will be delivered without a person, right? And that is going to make it. The last mile is a challenge around the world for lots of services. So that last mile challenge is now being addressed, and the price is going to be lowered for a lot of these things to become viable. So all that has been happening.
So thank you very much. You're just going to put a lot of people out of work.
Yes.
So Amazon has already started that store.
Yeah.
Where you walk in.
Yeah, you buy everything, you pick up everything, you walk out.
You just, your cell phone records everything and you go, there are no salespeople there. So salespeople will be out of a job, right? Your drivers will be out of a job.
Yes.
Right? How many other people do you want to unemploy? With your fascination with technology.
No, better employed. I mean, why unemployed?
What are they going to do?
Upskilling.
Upskilling. You mean a driver is going to learn to do what now?
Yes.
Or a salesperson?
How did he learn how to drive?
But I mean,
how did he learn how to drive?
He learned.
Where does your driver come from?
Yeah, he learned how to drive.
He's normally not literate, right? Or he has very little literacy. But he learned how to drive.
Okay.
He learned how to follow
So what do you
rules.
think he'll do now?
Find another vocation, right? There will always be human thought.
You sound like Dr. Pangloss.
Are
you trying to tell me you're so optimistic when everybody is going to lose their jobs?
Look,
when you are telling me that drivers are out of a job, salespeople are out of a job, delivery postmen, etc., FedEx is out of a job. Faisal, that's millions of people.
That is millions of people, but it's always happened. That is the march of civilization. When has it not happened? When has it not happened that people lost jobs?
I don't think it's
if
happened.
You go back thousands.
I don't think it's happened on this scale. Has it?
Scale is different.
So,
today,
what does that mean?
So technology also takes care of scale on the other side.
So you tell me now.
So people will lose more jobs, right?
Okay.
More people will lose jobs.
What will they do?
But at the same time, more people will have newer skills.
Like
that
what?
They will,
project. What skills do you want them to have?
Any skill which is not repetitive. where you lose a job is when it's a repetitive thing, right? So I'm a cashier.
So you're telling
I'm doing
me
the same thing over and over and over
this
again.
kid who dropped out of high school because he didn't want to continue to pick up an education, picked up driving or selling products,
Yes.
now has to retool,
Yes.
learn a whole new set of
Yes.
skills and learn. He's the kind of person who wanted to do repetitive work.
Yeah.
He or she.
Yeah,
She
because
wanted
we
to be repetitive.
forced them into that.
Okay, now what do you want him to do?
We want him to think. We want him to be the thinking person that every human being should be.
But some people don't want to do that.
Well, for them the world is going to be really tough then, as it has always been. For the ones who don't want to change, right? Darwin is normally quoted
You're a
wrong.
hard-hearted man.
I am.
You're really
I
a
am.
hard-hearted man.
I am.
I thought we economists were bad, but you're terrible.
No, I am. Because I think it's the hard-hearted ones, right, that kind of look into the world and say...
So you're not
things
going
about
to
change.
go for this solution that many economists talk about, universal basic income. You're not for that.
For basic income.
Universal basic income.
A universal basic income, how does that work as a concept?
They say that everybody...
It's a very socialist thing, right? So I believe your class fellows won the...
So now you are a capitalist. Okay, not bad. So you have no heart at all, huh? You really want to screw
I am a
people.
carburetor.
Listen, my friend.
Which is going to go out because it's going to
The
be
point is,
electric.
they are saying with millions of people unemployed,
Yeah.
let's at least let them have a
Okay.
basic income from the state.
All right. So the state
so that
has to...
everybody is...
Okay, fine. That I agree. Okay, the state has to take some responsibility. But how far does that go?
But the state has to take responsibility by taking taxes from people like you.
Yes.
It's a transfer. State
More
has nobody.
tax from me.
So they will take more tax from you
Yeah.
and give it to poor people who can't be employed anymore. Is that okay by you?
Is there somebody who cannot be employed? I don't think so.
I mean,
right?
for
So
example-
economies will move at a different pace, right? It's
Are you
gonna-
saying the state can't take a few $1 billion from
How
from
long
Jeff
before you
Bezos?
think that a teller's job will disappear in Pakistan or a driver's job will disappear in Pakistan?
Maybe not in Pakistan, but the
Yeah.
US.
The US it will happen.
They're very
But
risky.
that is why the environment also, right, has an impact. The environment changes as the requirements change. So it is going to happen there. It's already happening there. They're learning new skills. Schools are retooling, right? Universities are looking at education in a different manner, and all that has to happen.
Dr. Pangloss, I'm not buying that snake
You're not
oil.
going to buy
I'm not
that
buying that snake
Okay.
oil.
You
the
tell me-
point is, are you telling me, but answer this question, are you okay with Jeff Bezos giving up a few $1 billion to be distributed among the poor drivers who lose their money?
If Jeff Bezos is going to do that, I don't have a
No,
problem.
he obviously won't want to do it.
Yeah.
The state has to force him to do it, right? I mean, that's taxation. Taxation is forced. Taxation is not voluntary. So what you're saying is that all the rich people should be taxed heavily.
Yes, they
so that we
should.
can do a universal
Because
basic
we
income.
need this imbalance to also go away. There's a huge imbalance in terms of wealth where it is and who needs to be fed also. So this imbalance has to be corrected.
So you've also become a bit of a socialist now, huh?
Why shouldn't I be? Why should I be one-dimensional?
Because
I believe in free markets.
Okay.
But I also at least believe at the same time there has to be...
you're a capitalist with a heart.
Yeah, but there has to be some social intervention also.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Otherwise, where is my next customer going to come from? Let me think as a capitalist. It's going to come from the bottom billion. It's not going to come from the ones I'm already selling stuff to. Right? So I need that bottom billion to also come up above the poverty line or become economically empowered to be able to buy what I'm trying to sell to them, even if it's snake oil. Right?
Okay. I accept that. But tell me now another thing. If we think of another innovation that's taking place,
Yeah.
we were discussing this earlier.
Yeah.
What about the space industry? While we can't sort out a trivial little problems here,
Yes.
they've already got the private sector in the space.
Yes.
They've got the Virgin, they've got
They're thinking of manufacturing in space, they're exploring space, they're going to mine space.
I read somewhere it's going to be $1 trillion industry by 2025.
Yes. Yes. Why not? Why won't it be?
And what will be, we'll still
And
be...
that will create a huge number of
But
jobs.
we'll still be making yarn then, huh?
Not necessarily. We may be making some entirely different material. I've been reading about graphene.
No, I'm talking about Pakistan.
Pakistan, yes.
Yeah, we'll be making yarn.
We'll be still making yarn.
Making yarn.
Right.
And
we'll
these,
still be
and these
saying,
carburetor cars.
we need a subsidy because nobody is buying our yarn anymore.
So what's the story? So they'll go into space, they'll make $1 trillion industry out of space. They've got
They'll be growing food in space.
Driving cars will be making another few $1 trillion, etc. And we'll be making yarn and we'll be doing this. So where do we stand?
As we stand today, we need a real serious rethink. Right, the kind of space that I'm in, innovation, right, saying, okay, 4th generation technologies and all that. And then there's a task force, right? And the first kind of pronouncement that's come out of there is, oh, we need BPO. We need business process offices. We need more IT services. That's done. That's passé. That's 20 years ago. You missed that board. So think ahead. Don't think...
You're still opening call centers. We're still opening call centers.
We're still opening call centers. We're still talking about IT parks. Come on, right? Don't you see where the world is going? The biggest BPO offices were in India. They moved past that.
They moved past that.
They moved past that. We are still thinking our universities should produce code monkeys, right? Who are absorbed by these big software companies, and all talent just goes there to die. Nothing happens to develop them further. So there's no development because no innovation is happening. I'm just servicing somebody who's expecting me to write code, and that's it. So we cannot continue as that.
Think about this electric scooter.
Yeah.
This is like that kid's scooter that we used to ride when you were kids. You know, you pushed it along with a platform with a handle, and you pushed it along.
It's a simple motor, and you know, suddenly it's.
And that now has become a huge industry.
It is.
I read the other day that I think Washington DC had bought 50,000 of them, and somebody said, no, that's too little. They must buy more, right? And those things are going to lie on streets, you know, in stands or whatever, and you can rent them for a few dollars, and you can whiz along.
We have to do these things. We have to think beyond. We must imagine. We must say, okay, let's fail. Doesn't matter, right? Don't be afraid.
But where's the failure in that? It's such a simple thing.
There isn't.
It's such a simple thing.
This whole thing in saying let's not innovate because innovation may.
No, don't you think we also have this idea of innovation that we must all make Apple something?
I agree.
Innovation is this little scooter as well, right?
Small little things. We keep telling our incubatees, right? We don't expect moonshots from all of you. There will be a few moonshots also. There is already. We have one company, you know, that's got technology that is a moonshot. But most will be small incremental stuff, right? Solving little problems, solving local little problems, health or education or even food production or usage of water in irrigation. You know, these doable things. So we need to focus on those. For us, that is innovation. I'm just going to take a break, right? We'll come back and we're going to talk about your class fellow, right, who just recently won a Nobel Prize.
No problem.
So stay with us when we ask Dr. Nadeem, right, his class fellow, Dr. Roma, just recently won the Nobel Prize for economics. And his subject was very interesting. It's what we were just talking about, innovation. Welcome back. When we went away to the break, we were talking about innovation. And I've been talking to Dr. Nadeem off camera. So one of his class fellows has recently won the Nobel Prize for economics. He's sharing it with another Nobel laureate. So tell us about Dr. Roma and tell us about his whole thesis on innovation and its impact on the economy.
Paul Romer and his supervisor, Robert Lucas, who was also my teacher, they revolutionized economics in the 80s, early 80s. I'll tell you how. Basically, in economics, we used to think that we were limited in resources.
Right.
We could only grow up to a point. After that, you know.
So we're talking about any economy.
People would level off and people would be, you know, you'd be wealthy, but you'd level off. You won't be able to grow infinitely.
So marginal propensities.
Marginal returns would always decrease. That was the basic thesis that we had. You probably heard about it. That you have one apple, tastes very good. You have two apples, tastes less good. You have 5 apples, then you don't want to have any more, right? So marginal returns are always decreasing. Robert Lucas and Paul Roma pointed out that no, growth can be infinite. We can always grow.
All right.
Because they said, hey, data has shown that we've always grown and we grow very sharply. And there was the earlier theory also said that we would catch up with the US. The poor countries would catch up with the rich countries. Because the rich countries would slow down as they got up and the poor countries would catch up with them. That was the whole theory of aid, that we'd catch up and we'd all become equally rich and we'd live happily.
That's not possible.
And what Paul Romer and Robert Lucas said, Robert Lucas got the Nobel Prize in 1996.
Right.
Paul Romer got it today. His point was that, look, we will grow forever.
Yeah.
There is no reason to think you're limited. Okay. What is limited is resources.
Right.
Wood may be limited, iron may be limited, whatever that's limited, right? But what is not limited is the imagination.
The ability to think.
Right? And not only that, for the first time in our history, we've got to the ability where we can control innovation.
Right.
In our previous generations, we didn't control. Innovation just happened because something happened. It was an accident, right? This is the first era, the last
So the knowledge
few
economy
decades.
or the information economy.
I think that's also kind of, in a sense of not a good euphemism. It was the research economy.
Okay.
When you discover a new drug, you actually research it.
Yeah, sure.
When you make this iPhone, you actually research it.
Absolutely.
When you make a new chip, so I mean, it's knowledge economy, we use it, but no, we forget it, we forget the fact that
So from research to knowledge, right?
It's actually research, right? Robert Lucas said, Robert Lucas used knowledge point that our human knowledge, like now Pythagoras' theorem, every kid knows.
Yes.
But 200 years ago, it was a very difficult thing. Few people knew it, right?
True.
So that knowledge is carried through generations. But more importantly, the point is technology is actually discovered now. Whereas in the previous years, technology was not discovered.
Right, so it
now
happened.
Technology is actually discovered. Every country has a research budget except for Pakistan. Pakistan has no research budget, right? Every country has. China actually has a goal that they have achieved now.
So let me, before I forget, the Nature magazine, recently there was an article in that which said the two countries that have had the most research papers written in the last 1 year were actually Egypt and Pakistan.
Yeah.
Right? As a percentage.
As a percentage.
So maybe our base was smaller, so the number of papers written reflect in that and saying the largest percentage.
Exactly. But papers don't make research.
Yeah.
That's what we've done is we've got into artificial goals. The key thing is discoveries, and the key thing is what you're doing with basic science, what you're doing with understanding problems of your own. Now, China, as I said, has already got to 2.5% of GDP for research. We keep talking about primary education getting 2%, we can't get there. They've got 2.5% for research, and they've done that. And now they are coming up. Israel spends a lot of money on research. US spends a lot of money on research, as you know. So Paul Romer's point was that research actually allows us to discover technology as a human activity.
Okay.
In the earlier generations, we didn't do it. It just
It's
happened,
not by accident, right? It's by design.
But now by design, we are doing that, and we are developing that. And then later he went on to something which is also very interesting. He then went on to say that research, and Robert Lucas also started it, so Paul Romer followed him, that look, research and innovation happens in a particular geographical space.
Okay.
Which is called a city.
Right.
It happens in a city.
So we're back to the cities.
Right? So cities are very important.
But that's always been that way.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But earlier in economics, we never thought about cities. We thought cities were kind of separate.
Right.
But now they're saying cities are central to the technological process. Cities are central to the growth process. Something like 80% of the world's GDP is produced in the top 40 cities. Right? I mean, cities produce everything. In every country, cities produce output. Cities produce innovation.
Yeah.
Also, then
cities also create demand. Because of density. So anything which is even produced outside the city is consumed within the city.
So there's a lot of research being done on cities, and we've talked about it, and we'll talk about it more in some program. Paul Romer has now come up with something very interesting for the last 10 years or maybe more. He has developed a concept, and he's got a website. It's called Charter Cities.
Okay.
And he's saying that, look, we in these countries, we are so beset with these problems of political economy, vested interests, etc., and our old legal system. Everything is kind of jammed up. Like you can see in Pakistan, court has to get into everything. Everything is jammed up. Can't get a damn thing done.
Even weddings.
So he's
the Supreme Court is talking about the timing of weddings.
Absolutely. Because, as you said, women dress up. So they must be rewarded.
They must be rewarded.
A very sexist comment, but we'll let that pass. Anyway, so he says that, look, this, the charter city concept is, it used to be in the old days. When you remember the kings, etc., went off to fight the Crusades.
Sure.
They needed taxes.
Yes.
So they gave the city of London and Paris and Florence, etc., they gave them a charter.
Right.
They said, you are a chartered city.
Okay.
We will not come and bother you.
Right.
Your responsibility.
Have to collect so much tax and give it to us.
Give us taxes. We can go fight our wars because we want chivalry. We want this, etc. Cities develop their own merchant laws. Charters. Paul Romer says we should make charter cities here in all countries, which is like an economic zone. But he's saying no. make it, for example, one example of a charter city which is very interesting, you've probably been there, is DIFC in Dubai.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, DIFC is very interesting.
Yeah.
It is actually probably the size of this road we are on, Guru Mangat, or even less probably.
Absolutely.
It's a very small space, maybe half a square kilometer.
5-6 buildings at most.
Yeah, that's it. But DIFC actually legally stands outside Dubai. It even has a court system where the judges come from England.
Yeah.
So everything on DIFC is, Dubai law doesn't apply. And everybody comes and parks themselves there, right? So he's saying
you bring the best of the world.
You create something like that. It should be a space where people can come and function and operate. But it should not, your local problems or vested interests should not contaminate that space, right? And he's doing a lot of work in that area. A fascinating concept. I think very important to think of.
Yeah.
But let me tell you another thing which is very interesting. Now, when I was in the government, I called Paul once and I said, hey, Paul, I'd like you to come to Pakistan and talk to our people and explain it to them. And he said, okay, if you insist, I'll come. I'm very busy, but I'll take some time out and come for a day or two. But then there was a meeting with all the bigwigs. And there something came out about cities. And I mentioned to the president and President Zardari, many people there. I said, President, I mean, I think it would be a good idea if before we develop something, he was thinking of developing a new city, Benazirabad, next to Karachi.
Yeah.
Before we develop a city, can I suggest that we call somebody like that?
Right. To talk about it.
I said, there was another guy I mentioned, Richard Florida, who's also a very good economist, does work in cities.
Yeah.
I'll call those guys to conceptualize the city. We must conceptualize this before we start doing it.
Right.
Right? And I was shouted down. Everybody said, no, waste of time. We don't need to think. Let's just have a consultant. Let's start the city. Well, we never built anything, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we were so averse to that. So I called up Paul and said, no, please don't come because, I don't have an audience for you here. And this is a very important concept to think about, Faisal.
Yeah.
Do we have an audience?
Of course we don't.
Somebody comes here, will people understand him?
Yeah. We need to build that understanding. We need to build that desire to learn. I think that is the first and foremost thing. If we don't have that desire to learn from people who are actually making a difference in other parts of the world, of course you don't have an audience.
I'm reminded of this journalist. You might remember him. I'm sure you knew him. Everybody knows him. Masood Hassan.
Yeah, of course.
Khalid and Masood Hassan.
Brothers.
Masood was a very witty writer, etc. Both of them were actually very good writers. I still remember one article that Masood wrote, and I remember reading it and writing to him. He wrote about how, I think Jagjit Singh came here, and at one point, who's that American linguist? I forget, the MIT linguist, the famous Noam Chomsky.
Oh, Noam Chomsky.
He wrote about it that when Noam Chomsky was speaking, for example, and Jagjit was singing, the glitterati of Lahore was there in their best fancy dress, etc., etc. But the big problem was they wouldn't remain quiet. They were not ready to listen.
They didn't want to listen
they
to
came to the event to party, not listen.
Yeah.
So what do you do in a culture like that?
We need to shut them up.
Right?
That's the best thing we can
so that's why I didn't call him. I said, look, if I call you, I don't think I'll find an audience that would actually connect with you, understand what you're doing, right? Now, his concepts are very important, and these concepts are now very, very
We should have a
important.
conversation with him one of these days. Right? But let's get him online.
We can try that, sure. But the question is, do you have an audience?
I think my own view is that we do have a population that's getting younger. Right? They're less fearless than, let's say, our generation. We need to connect with them, right? And we need to get them to understand that it's important to listen at times, right? We do that where I'm sitting these days, in the Innovation Center, and they do listen. It's not that they don't listen. The question is, how do you, what do you put in front of them? You've got to make it exciting. You've got to give it it's got to be kind of sexed up in a way, if I can use that term, right? If you just say, here's an academic, and listen to him, they're not going to do it, right? Government less so. Government less so because, again, we were discussing yesterday about turf wars, about policy not being, not even being accepted, nobody even wanting to do any evidence-based policy making or recommendations. Or you just mentioned that, we were offline, that you went to make a presentation, everybody just wanted to jump to the recommendation.
Absolutely.
Nobody wanted to know how did you arrive.
Nobody wants to engage with the analysis.
Yeah.
We have no time for analysis. We have no time for thinking. We think, Faisal, what you said disturbs me. We think that life is a sugar-coated pill.
Yeah.
And then I should have...
When did I say that?
You said sexed up and,
Yeah.
made nice for them.
What I mean
Think
is...
about it, it's people like you who want to play golf.
Yeah.
How long does it take
I
you to
don't like to play golf. I've never played golf. I've never picked up a golf club.
My point is, golf people are willing to spend a lot of time to learn to play.
Yes, they are.
But
so
you
we need
ask
to get,
them,
one of these days we're going to get one of those golfers on this show. It's only fair we should get their point of view.
The point is that you ask them to sit and listen to a
Have you
serious
seen
bit
the
of conversation.
which is running for the Multan golf course?
What?
There is a golf course in Multan coming up, and Sir Nick Faldo.
Sounds like a contradiction in terms, doesn't it?
So Nick Faldo came and actually designed that golf course in Multan. I thought they didn't have enough water. They never had enough grass.
That sounds like science fiction. That's quite interesting. So Multan is going to have a golf course.
Multan is going to have a golf
Very
course.
good.
And a world-class golf course where world-class tournaments can be played.
Not bad.
So don't knock golf so easily.
No, I'm not knocking it. But listen, coming back to 2019 now, right? Where do you see Pakistan? Politically, we are going through a very interesting period.
Yeah. So we are going through a rough patch. We've always gone through a rough patch every 5-7 years.
We've truncated the two major parties.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
we've got Parliament is kind of
suspended. It's in limbo. Right?
But Imran has got a lot of initiatives going.
Yeah.
He's got some energy going. Lots of people are.
My simple view, he should not be afraid of a bit of chaos. Let there be a bit of chaos. It doesn't matter. Right? Nothing is going to fall down. 210 million won't vaporize. Let there be a little chaos. From that should emerge a new order, a new way of governance also, right? Because we need to change that. We hear farcical things. We hear somebody being appointed to the drug authority, right? And we hear he was actually dead. He had been recorded as dead, right? In a NAB reference, and now he's been appointed. How the hell did that happen? So we need a bit of breaking of eggs. We need a bit of breaking of rules. Break all the rules, right? Every day we hear of something or the other that's happening. We need change, right? So we need change, and for that we should be able to sacrifice some of our comforts at every level. The good thing is, even in the last 5 months, right, there's been a lot of clamor on media, right, about everything going wrong, prices going up. Nobody's come out on the streets. People have not come out on the streets. People actually are waiting, right? They have a bit of faith.
What about Imran Khan saying casually in a news conference that there could be another election? Do you foresee an election next year?
Why not? If there's a need to go back to the electorate, go back to the electorate. Who says you can't have a midterm election after a year and a half or year or whatever? Why not? If that is what it takes to unscramble this whole knot that's been
And what about
tied.
the new province they're talking about?
There should be many more provinces. I think Punjab should be split into 3 provinces as soon as possible. Why should there be no more new provinces? There should be.
Why do you want new provinces?
I think.
Wouldn't that mean there'd be more administrative expenditures? You'd have 10 governors.
No,
you'd have 10 governors, 10 chief ministers, more protocol, more VIP movements, etc.
You just talked about charter cities.
Yeah.
Right? So I talk about charter cities and charter provinces. Right? These provinces will take care of
What
themselves.
about local government? Will we ever get local government?
Local government should be the next thing.
No, but we are
Or
not
maybe local government should precede the new provinces. Right? A real local government. Real governance.
What do you mean by
at the
real
grassroots.
local government? What is a real local
empowered local government?
What do you mean by empowered?
Rather than the provincial assembly
How do you
deciding
see,
everything.
Please describe to me the local government.
Where I can spend the taxes, the money I collect locally. Right? That to me is local
that
governance.
I don't buy.
Why?
Then you're going back to your own capitalist past.
Yes.
You're saying that rich areas should spend money only in the rich areas. I think, quite frankly, for equalization, we should take money from Lahore and invest it in Las Vegas or
so money
Lodi.
which is collected from let's say the local government's coffers, right? Percentage spent on your own area, percentage we contributed to a larger pool.
Okay.
Right.
So but think about it. What is it that you want the local government for?
What
do you want to do?
For service delivery, for making life easier, for health, for education, for, I won't say roads, because you'll jump on me and
But
say for more cars.
why should the state give you health and education?
Why shouldn't the state give me health and education?
Yeah.
Why is the state taking any money from me? For what?
For infrastructure?
What infrastructure?
Like,
I'll build my own road. Forget about taking my money.
Okay.
I'll get my community together.
Security.
I'll go and train my own people. Right?
You'll have your own fighting force.
I'll have my own fighting force.
What about? Sorry. You can't back me off like that. Hang on. Legal system that we operate under.
Yeah.
Right. The property rights to this, that the state gives.
Property rights are a critical.
The legal system.
Yeah. I agree.
The contractual arrangement. That, I mean, this station, for example, is built on a legal system.
Yeah, sure,
right?
of course it is.
So that legal system is this, I think it's a big innovation of the state that you forget about.
No,
that's the biggest innovation under which all of us work.
But
so should you pay your taxes for that or not?
Yeah, I do.
Right?
I do.
You're paying a user fee for using the legal system as well as for owning your own property. Somebody has to verify it, and that verification can only come from the state.
Yes, it can. So we're going to come back to it the next program also, right? Because we're just about coming out to the edge. We do talk a lot, right? So we
Jesus, I didn't realize that.
We didn't realize that.
Did we finish the program?
We're just about at the end of it.
Okay.
So this has been interesting. So we will come back to this, right? We will talk about local governance also. And we probably need to get a couple of people, you know.
No, of course we will.
Yeah.
But let's conclude it this way. 2018 has concluded.
Yes.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
We'll see each other in 2019 now.
Absolutely.
Right? It has been an interesting year. We are shifting rightwards. Technology is picking up pace.
Yes.
We're looking
and like
forward
you said,
to good things
we are
happening.
not now by accident discovering things. We're doing it by design.
By design.
Right? By research.
Active research, unfortunately, we're not doing it in Pakistan. Please note that. Whenever you say research, say don't do it.
Okay, all right. We'll come to that also. So thank you for being with us today. Happy New Year to all of you. 2018 has been a mixed year. We're hoping that things will change. Next time when we get together, we'll be talking about 2019 and we'll be talking about some of the subjects of some of the issues that we think we must have answers to. Thank you very much for being with us.